Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The New York Rangers on Black Friday defeat the Philadelphia Flyers 3-1. They improved their record to 14-3-1. And the Mika Zibanejad line is the story of this game. And I said last game against Pittsburgh, Zibanejad, who only had an assist, was really looking good. I thought that maybe that was his best overall game of the season. What does he do? He carries it into this game, and he was, really the main catalyst who scored. He scored 2 goals. He scored the first goal of the game very early in the game. But it wasn't just him on that line. You had a goal and an assist from Chris Kreider, and you had 2 primary assists from Blake Wheeler. Igor Shesterkin, not to be forgotten, was really good as well, making 36 of 37 saves. And I think the shots are misleading. The Flyers outshot the Rangers 37-19. It wasn't like that. A big reason for that disparity was the fact that the Flyers had 6 power plays and the Rangers killed off all 6 of those power plays. The penalty kill has been really good, specifically the last 2 games against Pittsburgh and Philly. 11 for 11 success for the Rangers penalty kill. And then I think 25 for 27 dating back to a certain point. So the PK, which had some struggles at one point, is really doing well now. And I have to imagine that they rank fairly high, certainly at least in the top 10 in the NHL in the PK. We know how the power play has been successful. Maybe it's cooled off a little bit lately. It only had 2 chances in this game. But it's funny. Again, Panarin, who, he has the 15-game point streak, and now he hasn't had a point in the last 3 games, but that's what happens. Now Mika Zibanejad steps up. Not to say Panarin isn't playing well, but it's just good to see, and he's had success against the Flyers lately, Mika, but, that line has not had the results. Say what you want, but it wasn't there, and Zibanejad only had 2 points in 5-on-5 situations for the first, 17 games, because this was game 18. But then today, 2 goals, 5-on-5. So that's the thing, too. Those were goals at even strength for this line, and the Rangers really need production from them. So that was really good. Also, liked the play of a lot of the defensemen. Jacob Trouba logged a lot of minutes in this game. 27 minutes and 36 seconds, and was really good. I mean, he is such a good open ice hitter, just in terms of clean, hard checks, which you don't really see too much anymore. And he's just been pretty steady, Trouba. And he's not going to wow you offensively. That's just really not part of his game anymore, as it had been in his later years in Winnipeg. And maybe, I guess a couple years ago, Trouba with the Rangers, might have had a 10-goal season, or close to. Also, I thought the pair of Lindgren and Gustafsson did a really good job. They have really done a nice job, considering the fact that Adam Fox has been out and Gustafsson slid in that spot, and they kind of haven't skipped a beat, right? I mean, of course, you'd rather Fox, but then that moves Gustafsson down to the third pair with Schneider, and I thought Schneider was good. Jones, they didn't really play Jones much. He only played 11 minutes and 26 seconds, but I thought Schneider, who played 16:42 and had some, and was kind of important on the penalty kill, I thought Schneider had a solid game. But that's the thing. When you get Fox back and all of a sudden Jones, is a healthy scratch again, and it's a lot better. But yeah, they're doing the job. Thought the fourth line was solid. Had some good zone time, that being Goodrow centering Vesey and Pitlick. They didn't score, but I thought that they were somewhat effective. Will Cooley does a nice job in this game of standing up for Ryan Lindgren, and it got him 17 penalty minutes because they gave him, an instigator, a 10-minute instigator penalty. Oh no, sorry. Let me get that. Let me get that correct. It was, right, 2 minutes for instigating and then a 10-minute misconduct plus the 5 minutes for fighting. So, but hey, Cooley is definitely, doing a really good job as a rookie and a young player of gaining respect from the rest of his teammates, and that's a great way to do it. Only ends up playing 6 minutes because of that, but at least he did that. And then Nick Bonino, again, do I want him as the third line center? Absolutely not. But he is a guy that is going to be out there in late game situations, and he blocks shots like no one else. I mean, this guy sacrifices the body all the time. So really, a lot of what I'm saying is kind of a repeat of last episode. I think the big difference is this time it's Igor, not Quick, and this time Zibanejad and company actually get the results. And this leads into, and I'll just say it now, this leads into a showdown with the Bruins tomorrow. And I have some thoughts on that. And you know, usually I'd wait till after, but this is going to be exciting. I mean, the Rangers are 2 points behind Boston with a game in hand. So this is essentially for first place. Like if you go based off like point percentage, this is essentially for first place in all of the National Hockey League. But I digress on that point. The Bruins lost this afternoon to Detroit. So both of Boston's they've only had 2 regulation losses on the season, both to the Red Wings. That does concern me from a Ranger perspective. It's a quick turnaround. Both of these, the Bruins and Rangers, with matinee games today, and then tomorrow is a 1:00 game. So I'm a little bit concerned with the Bruins coming off this loss. Like, they are going to be ready to go. That said, that doesn't take anything away from the Rangers. I think that they'll be, in a good spot, and I think they'll be geared up. Hey, last season, the Bruins had their way with the Rangers. They beat them in all 3 meetings, and the Bruins were the better team in all 3 of those games. There was no sugarcoating it. Like, they were clearly the better team. Now, let's just keep it to last season, right? Because then there's times I remember even Black Friday a couple years ago, I remember the Rangers beat Boston. But that was a different time. That Ranger team was better than Boston. This is going to be a very, very, very good test. The biggest test of the season. And it'll probably be Linus Ullmark, because I think Jeremy Swayman was in net today for Boston. So it's probably going to be Ullmark and Jonathan Quick. I would be surprised, considering that Igor, recently came off, being banged up. I would have to think it's Jonathan Quick in net. That would be my guess. And Igor was, pretty heavily relied upon today. Again, I think the shots were a little misleading, but he was used quite a bit, of course. So, it'll be interesting that Jonathan Quick's the one that is probably going to get the call in what is a pretty big game. Definitely the biggest game so far of the season. I think the Garden, it is an afternoon game, and I find that can take a little bit away from the juice of the crowd, but I do think that everything being equal, like, the fans should be pretty fired up for tomorrow's game. So talking about this Ranger-Flyer game, 45 seconds in, the Rangers score, and it's Mika Zibanejad scoring his 3rd goal of the season from Wheeler and Kreider. And this is a really nice pass by Blake Wheeler. He's shown that he still has pretty good vision. And so the skill of Blake Wheeler isn't completely gone. Again, it's hard for me to fully warm up to him, like, just from a hockey standpoint. Like, seems like a good veteran, good leader, good guy. Like, nothing against him personally. But this was good, right? Like, this was obviously what you want to see. And maybe that line is building some chemistry with Wheeler on it. And so Zibanejad scores at 45 seconds. Then their next shift, that line's next shift at 1:53, Kreider scores his 11th goal of the season, which is a team leading, right? I believe Panarin was at 10, and now Kreider, who had been ahead of him for the most part, Panarin ties him. Now Kreider back ahead with 11 goals. This was a play off of a faceoff where Travis Sanheim kind of really just with a terrible turnover gives it right to Kreider, who scores past the Flyers goaltender Carter Hart. So a quick 2-0 Ranger lead. And then I believe the Rangers, their next shift, they almost scored. I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I think it was maybe a 2-on-1 situation with Zibanejad and Kreider. And I think Zibanejad might have been a little bit too unselfish. I think that's what it was. But yeah, like, they were buzzing that line early and often. And so the Rangers take a 2-0 lead very, very quickly in this game. Then at 4:44, Trouba gets in on the action with some hits. And it eventually leads to a Garnett, Hathaway, Barkley, Goodrow fight at 4:44. Then at 7:24, Joe Farabee hooks Alexis Lafreniere. This penalty was kind of questionable. Lafreniere, I thought, again, looked really good. Like, didn't put up any points, but continues to really be very noticeable. Rangers don't score on this power play. Then at 13:28, the Blake Wheeler penalties do continue. He trips Owen Tippett, but the Rangers kill that off. That was the first of 6 successful kills for the Rangers. Then at 17:19 is where you have the Cooley-Hathaway fight. After Hathaway hits Lindgren, Cooley wasn't happy with it, but again, standing up for his teammates, and Lindgren would do the same if the tables were turned. So again, Flyers go on the power play, Rangers kill it off. We go to the second period, And in the second period at 3:08, Keandre Miller holds Sean Miller, but the Rangers kill it off. And then at 7:41, Mika Zibanejad scores his second goal of the game, his fourth goal of the season from Wheeler and Gustafsson. So a nice little setup by Wheeler. And Zibanejad, with one hand on the stick, tips it in past Hart to give the Rangers a 3-0 lead. And so obviously they're in good shape at that point. At 12:14, Rangers get a power play. Travis Sanheim high sticks Jimmy Vesey, but the Rangers don't score. And then the Flyers get their one goal. At 17:39, it's a goal by Sean Couturier, his fifth goal of the season from Sealer and Atkinson. And this is a play off of a Flyer faceoff win where, unfortunately, Blake Wheeler, they kicked Zibanejad out of the draw. So Wheeler takes it. He loses the faceoff, and then Couturier kind of beats him to the spot. Beats Wheeler, that is. So an unfortunate turn of events there, and the Flyers score and make it 3-1. Then at the end of the period, before the very end of the period, in 1918, Lindgren trips Farabee. And then at the 20-minute mark, at the end of the period, Keandre Miller and Sean Walker are called for roughing. So what that does is it takes Lindgren and Miller out of the penalty kill equation going into the third period, but the Rangers do kill it off. Then at 8:02, Eric Gustafsson trips Owen Tippett. Rangers, like I've said, kill it off. And then at 11:46, Nick Bonino is called for delay of game, and the Rangers penalty kill gets the job done once again. And a lot of that to do with Igor Shesterkin, but a lot of that to just do with the personnel, because the Flyers really didn't have great, considering they had all those power plays, they didn't have great chances collectively. And ultimately, the Rangers win this game 3-1. So I thought the Rangers played a really solid game. Sure, you can look at the shot totals, but I actually, that was a product of the power plays mostly. And the Rangers really were in full control of this game. So now, like I said, Rangers improved to 14-3-1. The only team that has a better points percentage. That's what I like to go by with so many teams playing an imbalanced number of games. That's really what I choose to go by. And so with that, the Bruins are a little bit barely ahead of the Rangers. But if the Rangers tomorrow, in terms of point percentage, if they even just win in any form, right? So if they win in overtime, shootout, whatever it is, they will pass the Bruins in terms of point percentage. If they, See, when you get into points, then like again, you get into like Vegas, who's played more games than the Bruins and the Rangers. But the point is this: like the Rangers are playing really good hockey, and this Bruin game will start 3 straight games at home: home versus Boston, home versus Buffalo, home versus Detroit. And Buffalo and Detroit, they've already played. So they're familiar with those teams. But the Bruin game, there'll be a lot of focus there. And I think that the Rangers, Laviolette's had them in a good mindset, but they got to know the Bruins will be very much locked in, because the Bruins, this is only their second regulation loss of the season. I have to imagine they probably haven't had 2 straight losses of any kind this season. That's just a guess. I don't know that. I know the Rangers don't. And there's a good chance Boston doesn't either. So very excited for this one. Expectations aren't high, and that's not for lack of confidence in the Rangers. What it does mean that the Rangers do it, I'll be very, very pleased with the fact that they've done so, because this will be a difficult one. But again, Rangers defeat the Philadelphia Flyers 3-1. Mika Zibanejad scores 2 goals, and Igor Shesterkin stops 36 of the Flyers' 37 shots.